Here we have a $50 budget star that I consider pretty good. The Epz Q5 Pro. As a follow-up to the original Q5 released last year that has a toilet bowl kind of design, this new Q5 Pro brings a suite of improvement based on users' feedback and is primed to be a really good option for those looking for something extremely affordable but technically quite proficient IEM. Let's take a look. Starting with an unboxing, just like its predecessor, the Q5 Pro has a pretty impressive sleeve box design similar to that of the Q5. The gold bronze sleeve is extremely pretty and it wraps nicely around the magnetic flap style box. The reverse side of the sleeve details the frequency response, the technical specifications, and the branding of Epz. The outer sleeve doesn't fully cover the entire box, and that's a minor detail, but perhaps that helps with easy unboxing. Inside, there's a box containing the accessories, which include the carrying case, a user manual and ear tips, and the foam cutouts hold the IEMs and cable in place very securely. The carrying case is a rather normal pleather zip case and it suffices in storing the IEM safely and securely. In this price range, the ear tips are also one of the rare usable types. Thick side walls and really comfortable with and undoubtedly not freaking e-waste. Save the turtles, guys, we have to save the turtles. Given the price of this package, it's a pretty good accessory kit and not lacking much at all. Build quality. The first thing about the Q5 Pro is the incredible light chassis being constructed out of resin. While it does not exude sturdiness or rigidness, it's fairly solid, and the resin shell is a one-piece deal, meaning no odds or misaligned seams. There's a rather brightly coloured gold cover to the outer face of the shell as well, though that seems to be made of resin plastic as well. The overall shape of the Q5 Pro is refreshing though, following the old school SE215 style universal shell rather than the countless universal custom shells that appear on the market these days. It's much smaller and the diminutive footprint makes the Q5 Pro a suitable fit for most people with large ears or small. The ear tips are nice and seal well and give a nice signature to the Q5 Pro. The silicone is nice and soft and definitely do not feel that cheap either. The cable provider might seem a bit cheaper and feel thin, but it's a serviceable 2-pin cable that works fine for most users. The Y splitter and the barrel jack for the 3.5mm plug honestly seems like plastic, but they may be metal too. It's quite hard to tell. One good thing, however, is that the thinner cable conductors used are much less microphoning and are super non-intrusive and comfortable. The faux leather case here is nice and solid, and the zips feel good too. Overall, the entire package has decently nice build quality, even if some people might feel the lightness and plasticky feel might seem cheap, but keep in mind that this is only about $50 and that is already inherently cheap to begin with. Sound. The Q5 Pro features a nice V-shaped sound signature that is energetic and fun and works well with a variety of music. It's a very versatile IEM with a strong suit on details and coherency. The choice to go with a single ceramic carbon dynamic driver with a dual magnet and dual cavity setup ensures the Q5 Pro is able to react to faster transients and yet give immense bass response with the volume of air it can shift. Timbre is nice and natural, and the lack of crossovers means that the coherency is fantastic. Unlike most of its competition moving to hybrids or different driver types like single planers or EST drivers, the humble single dynamic driver remains as one of the most flexible drivers that can fit a wide variety of niches. Some tip rolling and even cable rolling can bring some benefits to the Q5 Pro too, but your mileage might vary. Bass is distinctly dynamic. It is punchy with a slight emphasis on mid-bass and it hits hard with a nice rumble. Sub-bass is nice and detailed with great texture and timbre and works really well with drums especially. It is controlled enough and not bleed into the lower mids and balances out with the more energetic upper mid-range too. Details are arguably the strong suite of the Q5 Pro. It is impactful and brings a nice bass for the rest of your music to be on display without being upfront and in your face about it. Tonally, it is natural and easy to listen to, and it's a huge plus to me for enjoyable tracks. Mid-range carries the same natural tonality as the bass. There's a stunning separation between the mid-range frequencies, and female vocals are incredible for something at this price. It is euphoric almost. You can hear the timbre in vocals and instruments, and it's a nice contrast to the impactful bass, bring a nice balance between the two major frequencies. There is a superb amount of space and staging for vocals too, giving it more headroom than many would expect. Soul music sounds especially soulful, and it's incredibly coherent throughout. Some people might think that the Q5 Pro's upper mids are too energetic, but the energy it brings makes songs more enjoyable than clinical. Low mids might be slightly on the back foot here, but it is rendered nicely without taking away from the energy and musicality of the upper mids. Treble. Treble is airy enough, but does have the typical DD roll-off at the very top end. It's not a huge issue, however, as it sounds still superbly airy and makes some instrument really sing. There's a nice sense of space and separation without being sharp or peaky in any way. For me, I did not notice any sibilance, but I've noted that it is a tad bit grainy on the treble just a bit. Soundstage. Firstly, with regards to width and height, the Q5 Pro has pretty good width, but height isn't too much to shout about. However, it does better than most IEMs in its price class, and the width gives users a very spacious presentation. Depth and positioning. Depth is strong with the deep impact of the bass performance. Transients is strong and definitely gives a depth perception more than others. Positioning is also really good, although this is slightly hampered by the lesser perceived height. Next up, some comparisons. Usually at the bottom of the barrel, we have an onslaught of IEMs, and the Q5 Pro has some quite formidable competition these days. Let's see where do they stack up. So one of these formidable opponents would be the Kefine Delci. So the Delci was undoubtedly one of the darlings in the second half of 2024. It features a V-shaped tuning that is a little bit more laid back compared to the Q5 Pro. Technically, both the Delci and Q5 Pro are actually quite similar. However, the Delci has more of a relaxed upper mids presentation. Vocals sound more lush and relaxed on the Delci. However, if you're the type of person who likes the mid-range to be a little bit more forward sounding, then the Q5 Pro would be better for you. Build quality wise, I'd go with the Delci as you can't really beat a metal chassis. The resin on the Q5 Pro is serviceable, but certainly a little less premium feeling. Next up, versus the Simgot EW300. Now the EW300 is a tri-brid design for cheap, including one dynamic driver, one planar, and one piezoelectric tweeter. I found that the EW300 to be beautifully balanced with a tuning that takes advantage of the driver types, resulting in very good resolution. However, it is a tad bit less cohesive sounding compared to the single DD used by the Q5 Pro. Sonically, when it comes to resolution, it is easier to get the best out of the EW300 with a simple dongle. The Q5 Pro is no slouch when it comes to resolution, but for them to unleash all of that, you are required to have a bit more power. Between the two, if you favor cohesiveness and tonal consistency, then the Q5 Pro would be my pick. However, if you want resolution with a bit more uniqueness to the tone, then the EW300 would be favored. Next up, some things I like and dislike about Q5 Pro. So starting with things that I like its strong bass response. It has energetic and musical upper mids. One more thing is that it has great presentation and really good spatial cues. Technical capabilities is really good for $50 US. Next, some things that I do not like. So, well, the shells feel a bit cheap. The cable is a bit budget Barbie, and the tuning might not be for neutral or clinical listening. And finally, ratings. I think that the packaging is actually really good. It's a lot better than the original Q5. So let's talk about bass. Bass gets a 7 out of 10. It's slightly more emphasized on mid-bass. It is punchy, it is fast, it's very dynamic sounding. So 7 is a fair score. Moving on to mid-range, also a 7. It is natural sounding with good separation between the voices. Treble gets a 6.5. It is airy with a slight roll-off and it's a tad bit grainy. Resolution on the whole is good. It deserves a 6.5, very decent in its price category. Soundstage gets a 6.5. Yeah, it's good with depth and positioning, and it's a bit lacking in terms of height, but it is quite decent. Overall, when it comes to enjoyment factor, I give it a solid A-. It is very enjoyable to listen to, and dude, it's only $50. All in all, the Q5 Pro is a good update from Epz on the Q5 and allows it to be competitive in 2024 amongst the competition whom have been leveling up. Thank you guys for tuning into the Super Strong Super Audio Show. If you like the content, please press the like button somewhere down below, and if you really want to support the channel, a subscribe would be fantastic. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon. I'm traveling. I think this video is coming out on Sunday, hopefully, and I hope to see you guys soon.